for people that don't really understand healthcare, what do you really mean by fraud? What does that actually mean? Can you kind of describe the end-to-end process where this happens?
So there are definitions and there are things. This is a very good question. And this is the difference between what you can normally hear, because when people hear fraud, waste, and abuse, they
Yeah.
normally assume that
Right.
you're talking about the same thing. Fraud has intent.
Mhm.
So this is something that can be prosecuted. This is something that goes for special investigation. So an example of a fraud, waste, and abuse is a kickback, right? So, there's a funny story about fraud, waste, and abuse, which is like, hey, the pharmacist who owns the building, he has the pharmacy down, in the first floor, and the doctors are upstairs sending all the prescriptions downstairs, right? So essentially, you can have sort of like a kickback system
I see.
Yeah.
that
I see.
happens, right? Where now you generate. So a lot of that is fraud with intent, kickbacks, falsifying of claims. And then there is waste, which is something that can be recoverable. So this could be something like duplicate billing, right? It's not necessarily fraud. I wouldn't persecute it for you, but I'll recoup my money, you know, in the process. And as we talk about solutions, how to solve this, it becomes much more complex because you no longer need just, a hammer to get to the problem. You really need to be surgical because each of these things can cause different sets of abrasion in the revenue cycle management, in the way care can be administered in the hospital, which can be a big problem in the long run. And then there's abuse, which is, hey, I'm prescribing you more injections or more things than you actually should be getting. Or I am billing a certain service within a certain regional code. So one of the things that we look at is, hey, where are you billing relative to your peers within the certain zip code or area code for certain services that are coded the same? So if you are billing a level 4 and 95% of all the people offering that service in your area are billing at a level 2, that could be seen as wasteful or abusive, right? Are you offering more services to the client than sometimes other options would be there and available? So the definition of fraud, waste, and abuse is different. Fraud intent, waste is a little bit of a gray area where people are making errors, and then
Yeah.
abuse has to do more with the patient.
Oh my God, I have to say something. Like this morning on Twitter, saw someone I know pretty well. They posted a video of some girl talking about going to the dentist, and the dentist claimed that she needed all this work and had like 8 cavities and refused. Went to a different dentist who said she had no cavities. And it was funny. I replied to that saying like, over 20 years ago was the first time I had some dentists tell me I had a bunch of cavities. And I was like, I've never had a cavity. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm just not going to let you do it. They want to drill all my teeth and everything. And I did do it. And then I didn't have cavities. I went to another dentist and it was fine. Right. And I was like, basically every new dentist I've been to has told me like, you need all this work. And I never get it. And now, I still have my teeth. Right. So it's like, it's funny because I was listening to you talk about like abuse and waste. And I was like, oh my God, like, because he replied to my response saying like, how common is this, right? That like treatments are recommended or prescribed that perhaps.
So there are ways you can get
people don't
around
need.
this, right?
Yeah.
So the insurance company sometimes will have what are called prior authorizations, right? Which
Correct.
is that, if you need certain services, there has to be either a medical history that can justify that particular service, or sometimes, they can look at your plan of care, which can determine what type of service you have or you're authorized to have under your plan. So it's really interesting when you start thinking about, fraud, waste, and abuse, because when you are thinking about those cases where you go to the dentist and then the dentist says to you, hey, I know you came here for a cleaning, but I can see that you need 7 of your teeth done. I can
Got my
book
teeth pulled out. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
that's right.
you in for the next 3-4 weeks, right? And sometimes, they might be billing something, let's say a filling, but they're billing it as a crown, right?
Yeah.
Which is a
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
expensive billing.
I
So
see.
those are some of the things that you want to see where they're kept. It is very important as well, because I know we're going to get into this very shortly, but it's important to understand that there are different techniques to how you capture all three: fraud, waste, and abuse. payers are working on trying to have solutions with less abrasion, but still be able to capture them. And I'm happy to talk about, as we get into Dodge, to be like, what is the actual dollars here that you can get to? And what type of work do you need to do to get
Super
to this
interesting.